Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA FINLEY.
So there's a book called Managing Bubbie, and I hope that most of our South Floridians know what the Bubbie word means, because that really was such an endearment to me. And for anybody that's had a Bubbie, that you just know without even knowing anything about the person and what the person does. So the person that wrote the book, the author, Russel Lazega, is here in our studio, and he has this wonderful book, which I hope you'll all buy. But in the meantime, he's got some other great news. So what's going on in your life?
Oh, wow. A lot. Being a dad, being a real estate developer, and a lawyer. And the latest now is just finishing up the Managing Bubbie audiobook. For those of you who don't know what Bubbie means, and I think, Anita, you hit it so beautifully. Bubbie is a Jewish term of endearment for grandmother, and every culture's got their own word, nana, abuelita, ours is Bubbie. And so this is a story about my grandmother, and it's now on its way to becoming a celebrity multicast audiobook that should be out next month. We finished recording, and it was amazing. And also just finished writing the script for the movie as well, and working on the development to get that into production. And so far, so good. It's moving forward. And first things first, I'm thrilled about the audiobook. Some great actors that brought it to life.
Well, I want to ask you about that, because I listened to books on tape for probably the last 45 years. Believe it or not, that they started out in the New York Times was advertising them, and we started listening. But they usually had one actor or one actress. Maybe they usually did, and that one person had different dialects. But you're saying that you have some more than one person doing this.
My big fat Greek wedding? Well, I've got my big fat Jewish family. I have something, we counted for the movie, like 80 different characters running through this book. I have an enormous, insane, multi-ethnic melting pot of a family. And so even though I do voices and characters and things like that.
Yes, you do.
The only way to bring them to life was to break convention, break from the typical audiobook role, which was do it like a screenplay, like a film that you're listening to on tape. And so that's what I did. And we got some amazing voices. Linda Lavin from Broadway and TV and movies is voicing Bubbie, and she was magnificent. We have a traditional narrator, J.J. Crown, kind of setting up the scenes, and he's also a wonderful character actor. And then a couple other celebrities like Gavin MacLeod from The Love Boat was absolutely phenomenal and jumped into the book, as well as Lainey Kazan from My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
Great woman.
And she plays opposite, and we didn't know this, they're actually very, very long time great friends, Renee Taylor, who played the mother from The Nanny. And so when I wanted to cast my mother's parents, this story is about my father's mother, who was the typical Jewish Bubbie from Europe with that "I want you should listen and write these stories," that accent. But my mother's family was this New York Jewish family that her mother and her sister used to get thrown in the paddy wagon for running card games in Brooklyn, and they were characters like from All in the Family or something like that. And I needed to voice them, and to hear Renee Taylor and Lainey Kazan play those two was just amazing. That voice, that, "How do you turn this thing on, for crying out loud? Russell, help me with this." And so it was really great to see them bring that to life, the two fighting sisters.
So, Russell, I hope that you tell me that you are in it also. You have to be.
I am. Oddly enough, I play me. I play the straight man, just the grandson who just cannot contain that uncontainable Bubbie. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the book, my grandmother was impossible. If you told her to go left, she went right. And so during the war, as a Jewish mother, alone, pregnant with two small girls, trying to run and save her kids, that's what kept her alive. When they said, "Jews, you go stand in that line," she said, "I don't listen to that. No, I go this way." And she took her kids, left her, said her husband wanted to basically turn himself in, and thought, well, why make aggravation and trouble? No, listen to what they tell you. And she said, "You know what? You stay with the communists and the Nazis. I'm taking my children." And she took them and left. She broke him out of a concentration camp, a French camp at the time, so it was not, it was under French control, but people were starting to get liquidated to the Nazis. She broke him out, sent him on his merry way with the French resistance, and took her children. At that time, 2 small girls in school, elementary school age, and then my father, who had just been born, and walked her way and trained her way and bussed her way to the Pyrenees Mountains, walking on foot in the winter to get to revolutionary Spain, which wasn't a whole hell of a lot better, but it was safe. And so I wanted to capture that spirit and of someone who's survived by refusing to do what they're told.
And then she brought that in the modern day time, which was a pain in the you-know-what.
Oh, a pain in the tuchas. Yes, she was a pain in the tuchas. In the 1980s, and I said the other half of this book, it kind of goes back and forth between her in the 1980s and this grandmother-grandson relationship where she's trying to marry me off to a nice Jewish girl from a good Jewish family, which, of course, was my cousin, her brother's great-granddaughter. That didn't work out. But, it's just unmanageable, impossible things. She wasn't taking her medication. She'd been kicked out of 6 assisted living facilities in a span of 5 months because she was unmanageable. So there was a lot of humor when you can look back and reflect from a place of safety that she got her kids here by sheer, as we say in Jewish, chutzpah, sheer determination. You can look back and laugh with that family, this big family in the 1980s in Miami Beach at brunch. And all the old Jews fighting, that's what it is, over game shows, over whitefish, over things that are so trivial, but bring to life, I think, this story. And interestingly enough, it was originally the big publishers loved the story, they loved the writing, but they couldn't figure out, how do we sell this thing in Kansas? Will Middle America relate? And the funny thing is, I think most of America has a big fat something family, with, a big fat Jewish family, a big fat Cuban family, a big fat Greek family, a big fat whatever. And so my biggest fans have been people who aren't Jewish saying, wow, that's my family. Yes, they're from China, but my grandmother is exactly the same way. So that's kind of been a delight, in taking this amazing Holocaust escape story and reflecting it against the future, the 1980s, where everything is safe and fun. And you look back and say, look at the grand prize is just a room full of children. That's it. And that's all that mattered. And it's probably, in life, maybe it's a good lesson. That's probably all that matters.
Well, Russell, were you her favorite?
She had a lot of...
People always say, I was my mother's favorite. I was grandma's favorite. So it sounds to me, though, because you wrote the book, you must have been the favorite.
She always pulled me aside and say, you're a smart boy, Russell. Almost a lawyer. You write these things down for me. And, she stayed on that. And someone just out of college, I didn't really think much of it until it just, with the Jewish family, it's not really a choice. So at some point I had to write it down. And then 20 years later, here I am.
It's amazing, too. I mean, that's part of the story, because that's why I loved it when I was thinking about book reviews and I started to read it. That just caught me, the first chapter with your grandmother talking about, yes, you have to write this book. You have to. And you thought, what am I going to write this book for? No. Yes, you must promise me, right?
In the hospital with wires and tubes, she pulled me aside and said, you write these things down, like it was going to be her last words, her last will and testament, whatever. And, she stuck with it and stayed on me. It's like I said, as a Jewish family, we don't get a choice from.
But you had to do a lot of research. Where did all the things you did fill in that weren't just the family, but the history?
Oh, so much was from family stories, mostly my grandmother. Of course, we all sat, the metaphorical around the campfire, so to speak, around the fireplace, and, heard the stories. My grandmother never missed a chance to tell hers. And I also, had the opportunity to talk to my aunt and other family members and to go back and actually visit some of the places. I was in the camp maybe about 5 years ago for a family reunion where my grandmother, I'd mentioned, she broke my grandfather out of Camp de Mille, which is a French internment camp. and they honored the remaining survivors, which were basically 3. My father, his sister, and one other person, and they put a whole dedication to my family, like a monument there. So we got to go see people living in, it was an abandoned brick factory. And so there were big ovens, and people were laying and sleeping in these ovens. And it was this motley mix of French legionnaires, intellectuals. They had like 4 Nobel laureates were interned there because the intellectuals were a threat to the Nazis. Gays, there was a drag troupe that put on drag shows there to just try to make the best of their conditions. They were Germans who fled Germany because they were gay and the Nazis were hunting them. And then, you see it etched on the walls in this place, the decatacomb and the theater masks, and just art famed artists scribbling with rock and chalk on walls. It was amazing to see. So I got to do some of the firsthand research too, which was really wonderful.
Yeah, how long have you been working on this book now?
I want to say my whole life, probably.
But from the time
it feels like it.
Yeah, from the time that you first decided, to put a pen to the paper. It was in your mind, but then when did you finally say, okay, I got to do this?
I started right when I was in college, so we're looking at it's been about 20 years, and it just came to fruition about a year ago. I published the book, and from there it won 20 awards and started to pick up a lot of momentum, and that's when I started on this audiobook project. And of course, I never do anything traditional. That's just not how I roll.
You have so much of your grandmother in you, don't you? I think you do.
I don't think I don't think I had a choice in the matter. But yeah, definitely her spirit inspired me for sure. But it's kind of snowballed from there to an audiobook, and then now hopefully it looks like a movie. So I'm really thrilled to be doing it. And a piece of home to be showing. It's Miami. Half of this story is Miami Beach. It's that senior that you see sitting on the bench, and you don't know what their story is. And some of these people have amazing, incredible stories.
So do you think once the movie's done and everything is done, are you going to write another one?
Oh, yeah, we've already...
on this subject, though, right? You're going to find other people like this? Are you going to do this as characters, or what are you thinking?
I am always untraditional, and so the next move is actually a Spanish-based sitcom about an unmanageable mother-in-law. So
I'm sure there are a lot
in
of
Spanish. So
Spanish.
I'm even going with a different language and rolling with it, and I'm really excited about that project starting up too. So I've got a production partner, a great writer and producer, Ethan Smith from California, who jumped in, and we're just doing one project at a time. But we've already got several on deck, so I'm really excited.
And so you'll probably be lawyering for a while
until I die.
Probably. But tell me what kind of a lawyer you are. I don't know much about your business. I
handle insurance claims, which with this storm coming, I'm sure my phone will be ringing off the hook. But yes, I represent people fighting with insurance companies, and so I've written, oddly enough, probably a couple dozen books on insurance law and sold millions of dollars worth of books about things I'd never tell anybody to read unless the roof blew off. But that's what I do in my normal life. I'm kind of one of Florida's leading authorities on insurance law.
So did you always, that's funny, when you were going to law school, what made you decide on that? That's a unique piece.
Accident, as is most of how life works. I worked for the Department of Insurance and wound up just assisting the head of company regulation for the insurance commissioner's office at the time. And then from there, just building this practice on my own of helping people fight with insurance companies. I say it's job security for life, because there's always something they don't want to pay for. So it keeps me busy on all fronts.
Well, what I'm going to do then, so that people know how to get in touch with you, because maybe there's someone listening besides your book, they want to know how to talk to you and get all that. So let's give them your, let me see, I have it here. I want to give them a way to get to you. Can they call you at the 754-263 4252?
Of course.
Okay.
And for the people interested in the book, it's called Managing Bubbie, and I have obviously on Amazon, but also Facebook I have a wonderful page. You just type in Managing Bubbie or even Bubbie, and it will pull it up. And I'm posting regularly clips from the audiobook, upcoming news about the movie, the release for the audiobook, which should be out next month. All of those, and a lot of just good old Jewish humor.
Yeah, right. No, I have seen that. You are very good. So you live in North Miami Beach.
I am.
And you are a columnist for the Aventura News.
Yes.
And what do you write about there? Insurance?
I write about law, insurance. They pretty much let me ramble and say whatever I want to say that week.
Nothing about your Bubbie book.
Oh, my Bubbie book is my passion, my drive. It's hopefully the start of many projects.
Right.
Seems to be kind of a common theme of unmanageable parents or grandparents that has popped up in a lot of my work, but I'm excited about that, and I think it really relates to so many people.
You're right, and everybody does have that one person who is loved, but a pain in the you-know-what, and that's right. You keep. I'm not saying the word, but I'm glad you're saying that. But so it's not really, as you said before, it's not that someone's just Jewish, Italian. They can be Irish. They can be anything. They just do their thing. And usually in a family, there's only one. And of course, your grandmother, with that attitude, I can see how she saved everybody.
It was just, every family's got a matriarch that we stand on bigger shoulders that got us here to this wonderful, safe place. It's because we have parents or grandparents who did incredible things. And sometimes we see them now and, years have gone by and time has taken its toll, but we don't reflect back enough to look and see the incredible things that they did with sheer chutzpah, with no money, with no help, with no resources. And that's a big part of my message always.
Right. And I remember that my mother came, my grandparents were Hungarian and they lived in New York like most people who immigrated here. But there's so many stories that my mother told me about, and her mother and father were not like you described this. My other grandparents were more like that. I had a grandmother, sit down, I just made the food for you. What, are you going somewhere? No, I made this. And of course, it was always that special thing that she did, and I had to eat it. But and it was love that she wanted. That's what she was doing. But she also used to embarrass me. I was pretty young, and we'd go to the grocery store, regular grocery store. She had to bargain about everything. Here she's talking to this man that works for the grocery department, and she wanted an orange that was cheaper, a piece of this that was cheaper. And I used to walk away from her. I was so embarrassed.
So much money. Yeah, no, that you mentioned the food, which is just such a big part too. Isn't chicken soup a bowl full of love?
Yes.
And so many people have come to me with memories of the grandma's kitchen. And
the big thing is the matzo ball too hard. It's too soft. There was always this discussion.
It's got to bounce. It's got to bounce. Come on.
It always had to have a discussion, didn't it? But that's what their life was. Home was very important to them, and the tradition was very important. And there was always, it really was very matriarchal when you think about it, because the men, maybe they spoke at different times, but at these big events, it was usually the women who ran the show, didn't they?
It's what, in my story, definitely kept 3 children alive. My grandfather's philosophy was, don't make trouble. Listen and follow direction and do what you're told. And my grandmother never did what she was told and lived on instinct. And a woman's instinct is a powerful thing. You see it time and again through, I know my story. It's, one escape after the other by just not following the crowd. Well, if there are 300 Jews lined up over here and they're looking for Jews, that's probably not the place to be. And, let's pack and go the other way. And so many different people share those kind of stories of survival. A Chinese friend of mine that, hid in a plane full of chickens and with the animals to get out of China. And, that's instinct. That's not following the crowd. And those are the matriarchs that we remember. That's what made our families happen.
And so, your family, I know you have children, and
I do too.
So tell me how they handle all this. Do they think of you like that person?
I'm the low key one. My wife,
really?
yes,
Really?
my wife is the strong matriarchal figure for sure in my family. She's Cuban and fierce, and
She's Cuban. That's why you talked about the Spanish. So you speak Spanish, which is perfect.
Oh yes. Mira. Te voy a dar un jaquenazo que no puede imaginar. It's like Ricky Ricardo, the female version. And believe me, that resonates a lot more than me telling him, put your toys away, please. So, yeah, she's tough and fierce and has radar on the back of a slipper to get the kids to listen. But they're amazing. My daughter Cassandra is an actress, and she's on the book. Which is great because she gets to play opposite a young actress named Taylor Blackwell, who is amazing. She was in Dolphin Tale 2 as my aunts, my dad's two sisters. My daughter and Taylor Blackwell play the two sisters. And so that was her first kind of debut into theater. I told her, until you get a Golden Globe or an Emmy nomination, you don't get top bill. I'm sorry.
So you've always been interested in theater and things like this, haven't you?
Oh, yeah. My family's a theater family. My grandmother's parents, they were kicked out of the yeshiva, the Jewish religious schools. My grandfather was a theater hustler. He worked for the Jewish theater. And so they were the entertainment. And so he was a womanizer. He looked like Ronald Reagan. He was very good looking. Of course, my grandmother thought Ronald Reagan was her half brother.
Of course, he must have been Ronald Reagan.
Yes, because her parents happened to be in California around the time he was born, and her father looked like him, and he was a good looking womanizer. I think must be. So, she always had a theory. But yeah, my grandmother's family, they were theater people. And so that was, in our blood. They hustled and sold the tickets, put on the productions, and you name it, they did it. Actors, prop makers, goose dealers living in the house, and one big theater party.
Oh, yeah. Now I see. I didn't know all this about you. Now I know this isn't just something that happened. This was all pre-planned from the grave.
I wish I could plan so well. I can't plan to take out the trash on Thursday. But
this is great.
There's definitely something, there in my family and my history that's always pushed me to do it.
Yeah, and how did you acquire the accents that you do? Would you do that as a little kid?
It rings in my head. Are you kidding? I had a 6-bedroom house with 12 relatives, a grandmother from Poland, a grandmother from Brooklyn. Russell, go get me some ice cubes. I'm starving down here. It's 100 degrees for crying out loud. And then I got my other grandmother down in the house. Russell, I want you to write these things down. And so... yeah,
so you had your family living there.
Oh yeah.
Oh, see,
all on one block. Yes.
Either
in my house or next door or the house next door to that one.
You've just been a very strong family member.
That's a good word.
Yeah.
Strong. Yes.
Strong family.
We have a strong family,
and you love to have your family around, even if it were because you had a good sense of humor about it.
Oh, I wouldn't have it any other way. My first job, I went to work for a white shoe law firm in Naples, and they said, "Oh, you're getting sworn in as a lawyer. We want you to invite your family." I'm like, "No, you don't." I said, no, invite them. I'm like, you don't understand. That's not like mom and dad. That's like the whole mishpucha. And they're like, the whole what? Trust me, it's a lot of people. No, please welcome them. And
you didn't.
The caravan came. I call them the BBQs.
You are kidding.
The Bronx, Brooklyn's Queens. My mother's sister, her 3 friends from the salon where they work, and the hairdressers, and the cousin, and the brother, and the kids. And they were not ready for that at all. My boss, who was bald as a pool cue ball, like a cue ball, sitting between my mother's sister, Diane, and her friend, Mary, who's also from the salon. And she looks over and she says, honey, you would be gorgeous if you got those hair transplants. She did, like this prominent lawyer. They take the hair from the back of your head and pop, 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 pop. They do it on the front. My mother's sister has to jump in. No. Mary. My nephew got this thing. You spray it like spray paint on the top of your head. He looks gorgeous. It's like a full head of hair. And I see a guy who had never been speechless in his life, this powerful trial lawyer, just at his at his knees, at his wit's end.
So did he laugh? Or
He was speechless for a good 3 minutes, stared at his soup for another 2, and then smiled. And I still came back to work on Monday, so I guess that was a good thing.
Oh, my heavens, Russell, I could just picture that. And so were you watching this when this was happening?
I was hiding. I was mortified. I tried to warn them. They're like, no, bring your family. They're used to, like, a mother, a father, and like a brother or something. They had no idea there would be 4 minivans lining up across the alligator alley.
They're so proud of you, though, that they were see what I see in you, and I always say this to people when, no matter if you were rich or poor, if you feel the family love, which you did, just it was their own way, you could do anything. And that's what you have, and I see that.
They've always been there no matter what. As much as they're there, if you know what I mean, always there, they're also always there. And so that's a powerful thing. It's a message throughout my book. It's something so many people, I think the big publishers were so wrong. They said, middle America won't get it, and everybody gets family.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I have to say that, and I'm looking at the cover, and I have to assume that that's you.
That one is actually my nephew. I have the identical picture with me and my grandmother in the back. She pretty much was that way with all the grandkids and great-grandkids. You would see her kissing and the kids having this face
right.
Like, oh no, mothball kisses. Here we go.
Right.
But
so that was your grandmother. I see her.
Yeah.
Just they all look with that cute kid. So, and the Lazega, does that mean that you have a Spanish?
We've always tried to figure out where my name came from. The best we could track was we think it were Jews from Spain during the Inquisition, and they fled because a lot of my family wound up just on the other side of the mountains in France, and then all the way up into even
That's
Poland.
Where the name came from.
Yeah, so we figure that's probably where we came from.
Just going back, so when you graduated from law school, did they all come to that too? Where did you graduate from law school?
Florida State.
So maybe they didn't want to traipse up there.
No, they did. I went to oh yes, law school graduation.
Okay, tell me about the law school graduation.
Oh, it was not as crazy as the first job, because that was, the first job was I got sworn in a courtroom with a judge, and there are, 25 Jews in the stands there, bleachers cheering and telling the judge what to do. To move over, I can't see you. I gotta take a picture. Would you stop for a minute?
No kidding.
No kidding. That's my world. Yes, they told the judge to move over so they could take the picture while he was swearing. And to speak up. That's always my favorite. What? I can't hear you.
That's right.
Talk louder. So,
absolutely amazing.
I don't think Naples was ready for that.
No. Well, now I think the next thing you have to have is your own radio show or something. I don't know. It's just I love having you on. I guess we're out of time. So, Russell, another time you have to come back and give us an update. And I want to thank you again. It's you keep me in stitches.
Always a joy. Thank you so much,
and
Anita.
Let's get that book, Managing Bubbie, SBUBBIE, on Amazon.com. Thanks, Russell.
Thank you so much. No, it was a pleasure.